All right, welcome back, everybody. 23 minutes before 7 here on this Monday morning. Now, on Thursday last week, Judge Hans Fabricius granted terminal cancer patient Robin Stransom Ford the right to end his own life with the assistance of a medical practitioner. This has prompted the Justice Ministry to appeal the verdict, and we'll be talking to the Minister about this a little bit later on in the programme.
The applicant is entitled to be assisted by a qualified medical doctor who is willing to do so to end his life, either by the administration of a lethal agent or by providing the applicant with the necessary lethal agent to administer himself.
All right, that was the ruling that was given by Judge Fabricius. But here, now, let's talk a little bit further. We've got Professor Willem Landman, a board member from the Right to Die organisation, DignitySA. He's in our Pretoria studio, so let's welcome him onto Morning Live. Thank you very, very much for being with us, and welcome to the programme.
Morning, Leanne, and thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. Professor, a lot of reports out saying that, quoting you as saying that this is a fantastic ruling. Just give us a little bit more about why you're calling it a fantastic ruling.
Leanne, I think it's incredibly important in terms of what our Constitution allows us to claim as rights. You know, many parties and people have claimed rights, gay marriages, polygamy, termination of pregnancy, labour rights, the right to strike, employment equity. These were all claims that we've made, and they've been made in terms of our new constitution. And we believe that there's a group of people, those who suffer terminally, who have rights in terms of our constitution. And those rights have been unconscionably neglected. And that's why this ruling is so important. They have been given a voice.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the bigger picture and the greater aim is for you and fellow advocates of assisted suicide is to bring this and make this part of our Constitution. How real do you think this is, or how much of a reality do you think this could become?
Well, in order to succeed, we had to bring a limited application for this specific applicant, Advocate Stransom Ford. If we asked for, we thought that if we asked for something much wider, a blanket ruling, we would have I don't think we would have been successful. It would have been a much, much harder case to make. But very importantly, in the judgment, Judge Fabricius made at a third paragraph in which he talked about the conflict between the Constitution and our common law. And we believe that that particular point eventually should go to the Constitutional Court, so that other people in the same position can also claim their rights, which we believe they are entitled to. So clearly, it cannot stop here. We would welcome an appeal, and we would really hope that this ends up in the Constitutional Court.
Yeah. To many, this practice, we're talking about euthanasia, is just seen as committing suicide. How do we change people's views? Well,
we have the difficulty here is that, and this is the reality of a constitutional democracy, is that we have different, we may have different personal beliefs, different religious beliefs, different convictions, and they are genuinely held, and we respect them. But if we have disagreements about what should be public policy, then there's only one authority, and that is the Constitution. And the bench has to interpret the Constitution. As Judge Chaskelson, the former Chief Justice, has said, in these matters, public opinion is of very little importance, of very little weight, and that the courts have to decide what the Constitution had in mind. So we unfortunately, some people will disagree with this, and we respect that. But they do not have to choose to die with assistance, as they would not choose to men to take 4 wives, or to have an abortion, or to have a gay or a same-sex marriage.
Yeah. So you're saying it is the individual individual's right, but if they so choose, they are allowed to do. And I mean, I know that there are a lot of people out there supporting you. In fact, the Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu is just one of those individuals who's very much so for assisted suicide. I think this is a nice image of him talking about this. Desmond Tutu saying, yes, I think a lot of people would be upset if I said I wanted assisted dying. I would say I wouldn't mind, actually. So, I mean, that's, it goes very, very high up.
It's ultimately about compassion and about the values in our Constitution that support us, that would make that compassion, as it were, become real. That people are dying in a certain way and with great suffering. Not all of us would die that way, but those who are in that situation, and we've never been in that situation, we've never had a trial run, not any one of us, and we're in that desperate situation, we don't want to be abandoned. And I think the Constitution helps us, and empathetic people like Archbishop Tutu understands that. But people who do not want to choose that option do not have to do so. It's an individual matter of conscience.
Yeah. I think if we have to look at the Justice Department's concerns, if we can just focus on that for a little bit, I think that they are worried about perhaps families that want to get rid of a certain family member who is in hospital, who perhaps is not doing well, that, they'll have the right to money and inheritance or whatever it may be. How do we ensure that this isn't the situation? Is it a case where you as an individual sign something about your life, like I would do it right now, as opposed to leaving it to a family to decide, a family member?
Yeah. Leanne, that's a very legitimate concern, and it's taken very, very seriously. And we have, fortunately, other jurisdictions where this has been practiced in a certain way that we support. For example, in the American state of Oregon, it's been practiced for over 20 years. And in fact, the Canadian Supreme Court, when it ruled unanimously 9-0 in February of this year, to also ask Parliament in Canada to pass legislation to legalize assisted dying, said of Oregon, we now have 20 years of experience of how it's been practiced and applied and overseen and managed and reported on very responsibly. And we therefore see no legitimacy in these concerns. And we can go into the detail of what needs to be done, because if before you sign, you will have to express a verbal preference. There will have to be a time lapse. There will be people watching you and studying you and talking to you independently without family pressures being present to establish whether this is a free request. So we know about all these obstacles. We have no reason to believe that if it's practiced in the way it's done in Oregon, that they will materialize.
Yeah. Just having looked back at 1999, and I mean, it was already back then that this was a major conversation. In fact, I think our former and late president, Nelson Mandela, at the time, asked for a study into, this assisted suicide, assisted deaths when people are very, very ill. It never, however, materialized. It never went to Parliament to be debated. Do you think this will be revitalized?
Very difficult to say. It was very important. President Mandela was asked to look at legislation that would legalize a living will, and he said, let's talk about all these issues surrounding end-of-life decisions. For 17 years, that legislation has gathered dust, and I believe the department has never had the intention ever to bring it to Parliament. Whether it will succeed now, whether it would need the pressure of the Constitutional Court, and certainly public opinion is changing. Whether it will do that, I don't know, but it's unconscionable that it has been neglected. These people's rights have been neglected for 17 years and longer.
All right, let's leave it there. It's an interesting conversation. Professor, thank you for enlightening us here on the program. Professor Willem Landman is a board member at DignitySA. Thank you. And talking about assisted suicide here on the program, what are your views? Do you agree that we should have the right to assisted suicide as an individual, or do you think not? That's not the way to go. We would love to hear from you. Please write to us at Morning Live SABC. That's our Twitter handle. Now remember, we are going to have the Justice Minister on the program as well this morning to get the official and the government response and the constitutional response to all of this. So that should be interesting. Please stay tuned.